Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're taking a look today at the Oculus Quest. This is the new all-in-one VR headset from Oculus, and we're going to be putting it through its paces and let you know if VR has finally reached the point where consumers may actually adopt it. It's getting closer, and I think this might be something a lot of you will find interesting. Now, I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that I paid for this with my own funds. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. I should also let you know that I am overcoming a case of laryngitis, so my voice might sound a little weird in this video, but I think I'm at a point where I can actually start working again, and I'm very eager to do that. So let's get into it now and see what this product is all about. So let's take a closer look now at the hardware. Now, the reason why this thing exists is because VR has not been adopted as widely as people thought it would. And the reason is that in the early days of this latest round of virtual reality, you needed a pretty powerful gaming PC along with external sensors, the headset, and it was very expensive and cumbersome to get into this virtual reality thing, especially given there wasn't a lot of great software available. This might solve the chicken and the egg problem of the hardware being too complicated and cumbersome. The software still has to follow, of course, but $399 is what this costs, and inside of it, not only is all the optical stuff, but a computer to drive it all. It also has sensors built into the front here. That's what these 4 little cameras are for. And this will track the headset's location in 3D space. So you can walk around these virtual environments without having to have a computer nearby or any kind of sensors. Everything you need is in here, which means that any room in the house that's big enough can be used as a VR space without having to lug a bunch of other hardware along with it. And it actually does the job quite well. Now, in addition to the headset, you get 2 controllers in the box that help you manipulate things in your 3D environment. They have them labeled with left and right because one is assigned to each of your hands. The labels here peel off, but I think you might want to leave them on so you know which one is which before you grab them. But they will be labeled in virtual reality so you know which one is which. And the headset here will also track the location of these hand controls while you're using them. Now, what's cool about the hand controls is that it will allow you to actually grip things with your fingers, and it does that through the use of this button, and a little capacitive sensor here at the top. So if I want to maybe grip something with these 3 fingers, I just have to push down this side button, and my virtual hand will respond. Now, if I don't pull down the trigger here, my index finger inside the virtual world will point out. But if I pull down the trigger, my fist will close. And if you want to have your thumb wrap around your fist, you just have to rest it here on this capacitive surface, and it will detect that, and you'll be making a fist. And it looks kind of weird when you're just looking at it here on screen, but when you're in the virtual world, it actually corresponds quite well with the movement you might want to make. And it's nice to be able to actually grab onto the controller when you're pretending to grip something in the VR experience, because it does feel somewhat natural. The tracking here is exceptionally good for the price point. I was really surprised by how well all of this stuff worked, especially given how relatively low powered the processor is inside of the headset. So this has a Snapdragon 835 chip with 4 gigabytes of RAM. This configuration is very similar to what you might have seen on a high-end smartphone from about 2 years ago or so. Now, the one thing I noticed about the headset is its weight. It is very front-heavy because it has a battery, it's got heat sinks, it's got a computer, the optics, everything is kind of in the front of the headset here, and you will certainly feel that weight on your face. It weighs 1 pound, 4.5 ounces, or 567 grams. So it's a little bit heavier than the PC-based solutions that are roughly 100 grams less in weight. And again, it's all going to be kind of focused on the front. And I'm really feeling that weight on my cheeks and sinuses. And maybe because I'm recovering from a cold or something, it might be more pronounced. But nonetheless, I could go about an hour in this before I have to take it off because it's really starting to be uncomfortable to me. Now, to put it on for the best comfort, they recommend you get the strap around the base of the back of your head. So let me show you what they mean by that. So you want to get it in like so, and then kind of adjust the headset accordingly to get everything strapped in. And that does help balance out the weight a little bit, but again, it will start to weigh on you after a while because all of the weight here is just kind of weighing down on your face, and that was the one thing that was a bit uncomfortable. The battery life is about 2 or 3 hours tops. It'll depend on what games you're playing and how much those are taxing the processor. And I don't think you're even going to go the full length of the battery life before the headset starts to feel a little bit heavy. Now it has built-in speakers. They are located in the head strap here. There's one speaker right here and another one on the other side. The sound is actually surprisingly good. There's not a lot of bass to it, but the audio is very crisp and clear. And it's really cool when you're in some of these VR games, you'll hear the characters talking in the direction that your head is pointed in. So as you move around, you'll hear that audio kind of moving with you. It's really cool, and it's great, again, not to have to carry around anything extra to get that experience. If you want more bass or perhaps a more enclosed environment with your sound, you can plug in some headphones here with the headphone jack and get that experience if you want. But the out-of-the-box experience on this I found to be quite good. There's a volume control here at the bottom. This lever here is an IPD adjustment, and this can be used to get the lenses aligned with the distances between your pupils. So you get a little interface when you first set it up to get that adjustment made, and it's really nice to be able to do that because not everybody's pupils are located at the same distance from each other, and this will help get everything aligned so you have the best experience. And it was nice to see that they have a manual adjustment on here. The new version of the Oculus Rift on the PC lost this feature, so it's good that at least held out on this version of their headset. Beyond that, there is just a USB Type-C connector here. This is what you use to charge the headset. You can also use it to transfer data out of the headset back to your computer because you can record your experience to a video file and then just plug it into your PC to copy it off. There's also a way that you can stream from this to your PC using the USB-C cable and some open source software, because not every game will support streaming given the hardware demands. So for example, if you were playing the Star Wars game, you will need to use that cable solution for streaming if you intend to do a live stream with this device. Now, I was very impressed with the onboarding procedure to get the Roomscale VR set up on this thing. What you'll be presented with is a view of your room in 3 dimensions from the cameras while you're inside of the headset. The first thing you do is put the controllers on the ground to define the height of the floor, and then from there you just draw a line around your room to define the play area, and then you are ready to go. Now, they recommend a 6.5 foot by 6.5 foot square as the ideal size, but if you have to go smaller, there are options for that, and I found most of the VR games will let you walk around or use the controller to kind of beam yourself around the environment. So it's certainly a lot more fun if you have a larger space, but it will also work in smaller spaces too. Now, if you go beyond the bounds of the Guardian that you set up, what will happen is you'll see the grid show up when you get close to the edge of it, and then if you poke your head through it, it will actually take the image of the game away and put in an image of your room so you don't trip over stuff. So if you get a little too into it, it will help you not injure yourself in the process of playing, but I do recommend having a nice big space to make it happen. They recommend that you try to keep it in a fairly low light environment, not dark, but dim. So I would maybe draw the blinds to prevent natural light from coming in, maybe turn down or turn off lamps that might be too bright. I found that when it was picking up some of the overhead LED lights I have down here, it was getting a little tripped up occasionally from those. And then I had a studio light on me as I was doing some B-roll footage. It did not like that light at all. So definitely try to get the room dimmer and relatively consistent for the best tracking. It's not bad. You're not going to have awful glitches, but you will see occasional little glitches with your hand or head position that might be a little disconcerting every now and then. So really try to get those rooms as dim as possible. Unfortunately, it does not work very well outside at all because of this light issue. So you will not be using this outdoors very much unless you maybe get an hour or two at dusk where things are not all that bright and the cameras can pick up the environment. But the experience overall with this is pretty remarkable given that it is a self-contained unit. You can see me here playing the Star Wars Vader Immortal game, which I think is probably the best title available at the time I'm recording this video. It's very immersive. It's got a wonderful story. There's a lot of interactivity to it, really detailed environments that you can explore just by walking around. I was really, really pleased with that title, and I think it's a real good showcase for what this device is capable of. The graphics that you're seeing on screen right now look much better inside the headset. It's really hard to get a good sample of the imagery out of this thing, so the videos you'll be seeing here are not as good as they look in person, and I think you'll be very impressed with it overall. You can also see as you wander around the environment that when you get a little too close to the end of that Guardian, you'll see those little borders pop up to give you a nudge as to maybe you need to move over a little bit or readjust your position in the game. And that's one issue that I found, not just with this VR headset, but with all of them, which is that you do move around a lot, and you often do have to adjust in-game your location in the space to be able to continue having that freedom. But one thing I wanted to try with this was to see, could we go beyond the bounds of the Guardian? And it's actually possible to do that. You have to put the headset into developer mode and then go in and disable the Guardian, and then you have free reign to walk around anywhere. So a little bit earlier, I went out to my backyard and started playing around with the Star Wars game there, and I was able to walk around the environment much more freely. But I did have some adjustment in terrain that occurred as I was walking around, and the sensors were not able to pick up the hand controllers when I was out in the bright sun. So if you have a very big space, I think you can have a lot of fun experimenting with that Guardian mode off, and some of these games will be very forgiving in that as well. And I tried out a few other games that I also own on the PC to get a feel for exactly how this stacks up with a more expensive experience. The first one was Space Pirate Trainer, which was one of the first VR games I bought on the PC, and it actually holds up quite well on the Quest. The core gameplay mechanics feel very similar. You have to dodge laser beams as they're coming in and then use both of your controllers, which are attached to guns in the game, to shoot down the alien satellites. And it works very well on the Quest. It felt very familiar to me. The graphics were not as good, but the overall game, again, was really quite a fun experience here on the Quest. There's a free demo that they'll have on the Quest when you first boot it up, so that might be one you want to try out a little bit. The other game I played was Beat Saber. This is a rhythm game kind of like Guitar Hero, except you're using lightsabers and hitting blocks in the beat with the music that's playing as you're running through the game. And I found the PC experience to be a little bit better. The PC runs at a higher frame rate, 90 frames per second versus 72 on the Quest. I also found that sometimes the Quest was losing track of my controllers as they went out of view of the cameras. And I've been really playing a lot of Beat Saber on the PC, so I've got some muscle memory built in, and things were just not working for me as well on the Quest as they were on the PC. So I think there's still going to be some advantages to, of course, the more expensive PC setup, namely in frame rate and perhaps tracking the controllers if you're really flailing your arms out beyond the scope of where the cameras can see them. But overall, Beat Saber wasn't bad. It just was a better experience on the PC. Now, you're not going to find many free games on the Quest. Most of the games run between $10 and $25, so budget appropriately. There are some free ones like Rec Room, which is a multiplayer game with a lot of different game modes to it, including paintball and a few paddle games and some other stuff. That one's a fun one that won't cost you anything, but generally, most of the experiences do come with a cost. Some of them will allow you to also play those games on the PC when you buy them and vice versa. So there are some cross-buy opportunities, and I'll put a link to those down below in the video description. But if you're like me and have a bunch of games in VR that you bought on Steam, those games will have to be purchased again to be played on the Quest. So be prepared. You will be having to buy some software to enjoy some of the entertainment you'll have on the platform. And of course, you can play back media on the Quest. There are a few apps like Netflix and YouTube available for it. You can also play back your own videos with it as well. But just know that if you are looking at this primarily as a media device, the less expensive Oculus Go might be the better option because those apps are functionally the same on the Go as they are here with the Quest. Now, the field of view on the Oculus Quest here is about the same as what I experienced on the Oculus Go. So when you're in a brighter environment, you're probably going to see the edges of the screen in your peripheral vision. But a lot of the good VR experiences are often in darker environments, especially the Star Wars game Beat Saber and Space Pirate Trainer, for example. So those games will be very, very immersive. But brighter scenes, you might notice those edges a little bit more. I did find the HTC Vive on the PC has a slightly wider field of view and is a little bit more immersive for me, but I don't think it's a deal breaker. Is this better than a PC? No. But it's good enough to be very competitive with what you might experience on a PC. And I think for someone who's on a budget or really doesn't want to spend all that much on a VR experience, I think this is a very good entry point. And the experiences that are available on it right now are really good. And there's some good PC titles that have been ported over as well. Those titles will look better on the PC, but they are very playable, and I think a lot of the gameplay will carry over to this less powered device in a way that I think you'll enjoy quite a bit. But if you are an enthusiast, I think the PC is still the best way to go, but this one is much more convenient, much more portable, and much more affordable. So if you've been on the fence on VR but very eager to check it out, give it a shot. I think you might get a year or two out of it before you take the plunge on a much bigger system. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters, the Four Guys with Quarters podcast, Tom Albrecht, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.